Hello, in this video I'm going to go over the market outlook and give some more insight into the analytics and what we're doing. Before I get into the commentary, I just want to go through some of the facts and analytics we're using. I'm going to remove our price map structure, kind of give you some basics here. So we are focused on the weekly structure. And so what we're showing you here are a couple things. We're going to show you the previous week's high, previous week's low. We also have the previous week's close. This is basically the start of the new week. And every Sunday is the first day for crypto, and so that first day of the week is the opening. And so we get an opening range from that, and so we're highlighting that. And another key number for that range is the midpoint, so the opening range midpoint, or ORM. So we have the previous week's data, which is important, understanding, are we above the weekly close or below it? We up for the week or down for the new week? I also meant this chart also has the previous monthly close. So we've had it was highlighted in the alert, so anytime we have something in the alert, we'll add it to the chart. But these are just facts that you should know. Are we trading above or below the weekly close? Above or below the monthly close? Above or below the previous week's low? This is just factual insight. Same with the opening range. So we've got what is the opening range? The market moves outside that range. It likes to make a move, and that's what's happening here. And then we add our price map structure. First thing I'm going to add is the sentiment bias, the R level. So this gives us, it's our over/under number for the week. So above that price we're positive, below that price we're negative. Turns out today turns out for this week that the R level is at the directional. So that's a pivotal number within the critical range, which is defined by the upside pivot and the downside pivot. So this is the key range for the week, and we have sentiment balanced in the middle of that range. Typically the market likes to make moves off of a R level at the directional, or we're going to have kind of a rotational trade. So other price map levels that we like to look at to give us more insight is the interior critical range levels. And so these price points will give us a validation of a breakout. So if the market is going to start to trend away and make a move, it'll validate through these critical range, interior critical range levels, CR minus and CR plus. A lot of times when the market stabilizes at one of these areas in this risk regime, so the sentiment bias is what we call our R level, and the fact that it's at the directional has a specific regime. It can be rotational, and one of the tells for a rotational trade can be the market stabilizing off of the CR minus, and we could get a rotational trade back up to the CR plus. So we're taking this information, we're taking the monthly structure of price map, we're taking the daily structure, and that's where we're coming up with our commentaries. So on the commentary, we have the title. We're identifying this as the weekly. So weekly structure, it's a perpetual contract from Binance. And I'm highlighting that it's Monday, and it's important to note, what day of the week for the time phase, so for price discovery. And Monday is the day of discovery, so it's an interesting day. The market's going to, press the opening range, and it did. It kind of broke through it. And then we give the date, so you always want to confirm that you've got the right market outlook. We give a highlight comment, and this is just meant to be a quick overview of, hey, this is, get a little creative here sometimes, but we're just trying to give you some insight. And so sentiment shift is what it is. The market is starting to shift sentiment. Here we have our full session, so we're coming in here with a close for the day, and the market is starting to rotate below our sentiment bias. So that is where we're getting our sentiment shift highlight comment. Typically in the commentary, we're going to kind of talk about the upside, talk about the downside, really identifying the key inflection points and turning points for the period. So if there's specific alignment with the monthly or daily that are coming in line at a certain level, that's what we're looking to highlight here. Really, where is that key turning point based on all the structures. And so in today's example, we've got the markets playing defense below 1880, targeting 1825. And if you look at the chart, you can see that that is the lower metric boundary of the weekly directional. And it's also the opening range low. And we're saying it's going to target 1825 because we know that at the minimum, we're looking for it to come down to the CR minus. And the market's either going to stabilize there for a rotational trade, or it's going to let loose to the downside. And so that's exactly what we're highlighting here in the commentary. Be patient. If the market's going to stabilize, it will here. If not, ETH can feel it. This thing could really start to unwind because sentiment's balanced. And that's what we know. And when you go through the tutorials, these are things that we identify in the tutorials for each of these regimes. And so if we do trade below the CR minus and we start to unwind and we do have the previous week's low, where can we go? Well, we can go down to 1750, which is the lower part of the critical range, or even down to 1680 before it stabilizes. And again, we're trying to be real concise here, just hit the important points, but there's a lot that's behind this analysis. And then on the flip side, okay, so this is the initial lean at publish time. What's the initial lean? And that's typical what we'll lead with. We're trying to stay objective as possible and just interpret the facts. And 1880 is the pivotal point, and so that's what we're highlighting. And if the market can get above there, we could get some stabilization. And where could it go? Well, we could trade back up to this 1920, 1910 area. And so we have a lot of alignment going on there. We've got the previous week's midpoint, the opening range midpoint. We've got the weekly directionals at 1901. So there's a lot happening there. And so this will be a key structural area if this rally is going to resume, or the market's just going to fall back. And so here we're identifying that, hey, if the rally's going to stall, it won't be able to sustain a trade above this structure. And so that's a real key feature. If we do get a turn, pops back up here, can it maintain a trade above 1920? And if it can, then we could see a positive transition, and we could see the market make a move for the previous week's high point and the upside pivot, the top of the critical range. And where can it go beyond that? Well, it could go all the way up to 2200, and that's the extended target. So if the market can, whenever we're talking about any extended targets, we're saying, hey, the market violates this area and it's holding positive structure, where can it go? And so we're trying to give some insight to where it can go. And that's so those are the foundational pieces of this market outlook. What is the price structure? The previous week's high, low, and midpoint and close. What is the price discovery structure? What's the opening range? Or on the start of the week, we'll give the settlement range and we'll focus on it. And then how is the market? Where's the sentiment bias for the week? And how does that relate to what's happening? And then we take into account the price map structure. And we combine both the weekly, daily, monthly structure into a complete outlook. So it's all fact-based. You can use this structure to craft strategies. So if you're just a short-term trading opportunities, this is an opportunity. This is money, 1880 down to 1825. That's a trade. If you're looking for a bigger picture, you're at if you are at a hold position, you're at risk below 1900. That's sentiment for the week. So as long as the market's trading below 1900 for the week, this market's vulnerable. That's just a fact. So let's say, as you come in here for the day and you're an options trader and you're looking to hedge, yes, you could put buy a put spread here to protect your position. And you've got on the downside, if you're looking for to sell options against to pay for it, you've got some targets. And so typically, if you're buying something at the money or close to the money, looking at the targets, that can give you some insight to what options you want to sell against it. So the market outlook is geared towards a bigger picture, bigger moves. And if you are interested in more short-term, the daily structure is very helpful, and we do post that in the trading room, and you can have access to that by subscribing to our playbook. Again, any questions you have on the outlook, we will host Q&A inside the virtual trading floor, and so you can ask questions there, but basically this is the format that we go through. You can also email us at info@dharmacapital.trade with your questions. Look forward to seeing you in the room. Cheers.